Okay, so what we're looking at here is a sales order, and actually this particular sales order is in our own system, because the sort of beginnings of the field determination module was born out of our own needs and our own use, and our own finance department wanting to make sure that the data they were receiving was accurate, and it sort of snowballed from there really. So I thought a good way of showing it to you would be to actually show you in our own system here. So I'm going to enter a customer code here. Okay, and I'm going to just enter a date. Okay, and for the purposes of this exercise, I'm also going to enter a project code, because our system, we're using one of our other modules, the B1 project, which does require the entry of a project code as well. So I'm just going to add that in here. It's just okay, then I'm going to go back to my contents, and I'm going to enter an item. So I'm going to enter a particular item, and at this point you can see now that a number of fields have been filled in automatically. So these are in effect a number of cost centre dimensions that we use to run our own business, and it's also filled in the cost of goods sold cost centre dimensions also, and I shall tell you a little bit about where that information is coming from in a moment. So I'm just going to put a second line in here so that you can see how it can vary. Okay, so again, you can see here now those fields have been filled in again, but we've got, for example, in this one here, we've got a difference in the value that's been filled in. So immediately I think you can see how powerful that is. So without that in place, the user would perhaps be forced to go along to each one of those values, select the value off the list. They need to know what value to select. But by using the field determination module, you can see that they don't have to know what those rules are that are needed to set the particular value. And so that they can just concentrate on entering the sales quote or the sales order, for example. So now I want to show you what happens if I actually blank out one of these values and click the Add button. Okay, it's just going to tell me I need to fill in my project code here as well. Okay, I click Add again. And this time, okay, I'm getting a warning there, I get another message telling me that a particular field is mandatory. Okay, so that's my cost centre dimension 3 is mandatory, so okay, and I go back up, and it also gets my red line error message, which has basically stopped the transaction from proceeding. So there's no way around it for the user, so they need to go back into the field, and at this point they can then use the little symbol here, the little icon, to repopulate the field with the value that the field determination module had calculated previously. Okay, so once that has all been correctly filled in, I can then obviously click on the on the Add button and add the document into the system. Okay, so that's what the application looks like when it's in use. Obviously, from a user point of view, it's really simple, straightforward. They don't need to know any of what goes behind the scenes. So what I thought I'd just do quickly, for those of you who might be more interested in how we would go about setting this up, I was going to show you a little bit about what the configuration looks like behind the scenes. So if I go into here and go into my screen here, okay, so what I have here is the configuration that has made those particular fields get filled in the way they did in my sales order. So you can see here that it relates to the sales order. These are the 4 fields that got filled in, and these are the rules that are then being used to fill those in. So for example, the first dimension was being filled in with just the value from this particular table. So this is a user-defined table which gets created as part of the installation of the software. If I go into that and show you that, you can see, so if you remember back to my sales order, my first dimension was filled in with the value MBS. So that happens always. The next field here is being filled in based on the item group of the item that I've entered, and it's picking up a user-defined field off my item group. So again, that was the type of work. So if we remember back to the sales order, one line had dev in it, the other line had PM in it. The other 2 fields relate to the business partner or the customer. So in this case, dimension 3 was being filled in based on the business partner and this user-defined field on there, and then the 4th one also based on the business partner, again this time taken from a second user-defined field. Okay, so that is the configuration, and then the flag here indicates whether or not those fields are mandatory. So again, typically most people, if they're setting values using the field determination module, will also want them to be mandatory as well. But so one of the changes that is just in progress at the moment, so I don't have it available in our live system at the moment, is the ability for you to add rules around when a particular field is mandatory. So it might be that if field X is filled in, then field Y is mandatory, that kind of rule. Okay, so just also so you are aware, some of this information, and those of you who might have configured things in the system yourself before might recognise some of this information. This comes from what's called the system information that you can see in Business One when you go into the View System Information. So it's all readily accessible, and it's also just using simple SQL queries, which again I know a lot of people do get to grips with in terms of some basic queries. Again, obviously, if you require us to assist with configuring the field determination module for you, then obviously that's something we also would be happy to do for you.